dumplings. Is it a deal?
Huh?
You feed me, and I'll take care of those guys for you.
What is going on, YouTube land? I am Chris Catalunya. Before we get into this shoe review, go ahead and check out my Instagram on the bottom, Chris Catalunya with the underscore at the end. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel on the bottom right. I would greatly appreciate it, and hit me up with a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video at the end of it. Alright, let's get into this shoe review. So if you watched my previous video, which I'll link in the card above, you'll know that I was able to catch that Yeezy 700 Mauve Editions at my local shop called Sneaker Politics here in Austin, Texas. But also on that same day, No Comply came out with the shoe, the Zoom Nike SB Dunk High Pro Deconstructed. Now, while we had this shoe in 2018, the Nike Dunk was actually introduced in the year 1985, and it was classified as a basketball shoe. And then skateboarders got a hold of it, realizing the advantages to the shoe. You have the upper that is made out of the leather, which protects your foot, and then you have this traction right here, which is normally made for basketball courts. It had application on skateboarding too. Nike started to realize that there was this segment of people, non-traditional athletes, skateboarders, that were buying these basketball shoes and turning them into skateboard shoes. So in typical business practices, Nike saw an opportunity to capitalize on these skateboarders that were buying these shoes and introduce more colorways to the Dunks and started to introduce more technology to the shoe as well. And 30 years later, that's why we have like the Nike SB Dunk. SB standing for skateboarding. Now let's go back to the lengthy title. This is called the Zoom Nike SB Dunk High Pro Deconstructed. This is not your typical Nike SB Dunk. I mean, in the name you have the word deconstructed, which is actually playing into that fad that is taking place right now. You have companies like Union and Nike collaborating on shoes. You have companies like Off-White and Nike collaborating on shoes. And what's another company? Undercover and Nike collaborating on shoes. You have all these companies and they're all producing deconstructed styled shoes. Another thing that separates this shoe from other Nike SB Dunks is that this is inspired by UK's brand of Doc Marten boots. You're probably familiar with Doc Martens. They are available across national sports retailers, national hunting retailers, and construction supply stores. In comparing the shoe to the boot, you can see that this shoe really resembles the Doc Marten styling. I mean, Nike is employing the Dunk High Pro look, which looks like a boot, and then it's also employing the color schemes of a Doc Marten boot. You have the black leather, you have the brown sole, and you have the yellow stitching, which is super signature of Doc Marten. Nike really did a good job in stealing Doc Marten styling, and I use the word steal because this is not an official collaboration with Doc Martens. And I really do wonder what Doc Martens think about this shoe. So the official release date was October 24th of 2018, and it retailed at a price of $110 USD, at about $10 to $20 in tax just based on your location. Concerning the resale market, looking on applications like StockX, Goat, Grelled, etc., this is not doing too well. It's almost non-existent, and I'm kind of confused because Nike SB Dunks, they resell, or at least they used to resell pretty well, and this has been a pretty good year for the skateboarding brand at Nike. Like, we've had the Black Widows, we had the Humidities, we had these. It's been a killer year for the skateboarding brand. But what can I say? That's actually really good for me because now I can actually get the shoes I want at close to retail. So let's delve into the Nike SB Dunk High Pro Deconstructed shoe. Oh god, that's so lengthy. As we look at the upper, if you look on the lateral side of the shoe and the medial side of the shoe, they look pretty identical. So we're only going to talk about the lateral side of the shoe. You can see that it's comprised of mainly a leather material, and it looks like a dry leather. It doesn't have that shimmer or shine to it. It really resembles that Doc Marten boot styling. In typical dunk form, we have this Nike swoosh that runs from the heel of the shoe and goes down to the lateral side of the shoe. Now, this is actually done up in a black leather, and it looks like it has some gloss to it. And I really do like that contrast between that dry and that glossy look. and this Nike swoosh is stitched in black threading on top of these panels. Moving to the front of the shoe, we have this cupping going on, which forms the toe box area. So you have this piece of panel leather right here, and it runs from the lateral side, goes around the front, and reaches to the medial side and back up. Now the toe area, or the vamp, this is the flat area right here, has some perforated holes. Now these perforated holes, while you put your foot inside, this enables breathability for your foot. It gets you some airflow. Above that vamp, we can start to talk about the lacing system. So you have both the medial and the lateral side of the shoe, and you have the eyelets that run all the way up to the neck of the shoe. These eyelets are punched into leather, and at some points, some of them are punched into 2 layers of leather, and some are punched into 3 layers of leather. As you get closer to the top of the shoe, you'll start to see these leather flaps right here, and in typical dunk forms, these are usually colored different from the rest of the shoe. At the end of this panel, it features 2 eyelets, and you can actually secure it when you lace your shoe up. The laces that come with the shoe, the default laces, are going to be the standard flat black 100% cotton lace. At the end of the eyelets, it's just a clear coating. It's nothing special. The secondary laces that they provide in the box is going to be of a brownish gray color, and this is actually supposed to mimic the color that is on the sole, but we'll get into that later. Now under those shoelaces, you're going to see something that's kind of shiny as opposed to the rest of this shoe, and this is going to be the tongue. If you picked up a pair of Nike SBs before, the signature look is a really fat tongue. It's really puffy and padded. Not on this one. Because it's playing a role into that deconstructed look, you're going to see an exposed yellow foam right here. Quite similar to what you see on like the Nike Presto off-white shoes. That yellow foam padding is actually sandwiched in between 2 different types of material. On the top, the shiny portion that I was referring to before, you can see little tiny squares if you take a really close look at it. Now, with those tiny squares, that tells me that this material is probably a ripstop nylon. Ripstop is a finely spun nylon threading that has the benefits of being waterproof and being really durable. Now, with this application, I'm pretty sure it's not waterproof. I mean, you have these cracks on the side and then the top. I really don't think this shoe is going to be waterproof. On the reverse side of the tongue, we have this soft fabric that is stitched in the back, and I'm led to believe that this is 100% cotton. Towards the top of the tongue, we have a black leather label that is stitched at the front, wraps around the tongue, and stitched at the back. Now, on the front of it, it says Nike SB, and it's actually stamped into that leather. Under that logo, it says Dunk High Pro. On the reverse side, there are these glossy letters, and I think it is heat pressed onto the leather, and it pretty much says like Nike swoosh branding, made in Vietnam, all that great stuff. At the back of the shoe or the heel, we have several panels of leather. We have the smooth leather right here. Above that, you'll see some arches that are stitched in, and there are actually 4 lines of stitching going on. And above that stitching, we have this heel tab right there. And this is done in that same material as the Nike swoosh on the lateral and the medial sides of the shoe. And actually, these swooshes meet behind this heel tab. Now let's talk about the inside lining of the shoe. You remember how I mentioned about the tongue and how it used to be fat and like padded, like super padded? Well, the inside lining of Nike SB Dunks 2 were padded, the sides on the lateral and the medial sides, and they were padded with a Zoom Air technology. But playing into that deconstructed look, this shoe doesn't have padding on the side. The lining is actually made up of that same fabric that you see on the tongue. It's like that 100% cotton, and it's done up in black, and then the layer is going to be that outside layer of leather. So I pulled out the insole from the shoe, and this is what it looks like. You have a bed of fabric that is done up in a soft black material. Towards the heel, you have that Nike SB logo done in that signature Doc Martens yellow. Turning the insole on its side, it actually has some thickness to it. Now this orange portion is going to be made out of EVA foam. EVA foam enables your foot to have some cushioning when you're running or walking or doing whatever activity. Looking on the bottom of the insole, you'll see this cell-like structure, and these are actually flexible. And they're flexible because while your foot's inside the shoe, your shoe contorts in various ways, and this just adheres to those movements. Towards the heel of the insole, you'll notice this white portion right here. Referring back to the name Zoom Nike SB, this is Nike's Zoom technology. So what this is, it's a plastic bag or a plastic enclosure, and inside that enclosure, there's a fabric inside paired with Nike Air, whether that's gas or regular air, I'm not too sure. But when your heel hits the ground, it like makes that impact. This is supposed to like bounce your heel back in place. It acts almost as like a shock absorber in your car. Moving on to the midsole of the shoe, it really mimics the Doc Martens boot. So the midsole is colored in a dark brown material, and you see that yellow stitching that is signature to the Doc Martens boot. Now, there is no special technology with this midsole. I know normally when you see these shoes, it's like a Nike Phylon or some type of Nike technology. This, I think, is just a regular rubber. And that's completely fine because we have that insole that is paired with that EVA and that Zoom technology. So we don't really need the cushioning here. The outsole of the shoe is done up in a black blown rubber. Now, blown rubber is a process that makes the rubber more flexible, especially since you're going to be bending the shoe while you're wearing it. In the middle of this outsole, we have that hit of that Doc Martin yellow and that Nike SB branding right there. Now, if you don't know too much about Nike SB Dunks, but you think that this traction pattern on here looks pretty familiar, it's because it's similar to the traction pattern that is on the Jordan 1s. There are subtle differences between the two. Otherwise, they probably have the same advantages. Fitment. I usually wear a size 8.5 or a 9 US, whether it's Adidas, Puma, Nike, it really doesn't matter. If you've worn a Nike Jordan, a Dunk, or whatever shoe that does not have prime knit material, you probably want to stick with that size. I like a little space from the top of my toe to the top of the shoe, and it leaves about a half centimeter to a full centimeter inside. Concerning comfort, this shoe is freaking comfortable. I definitely could wear this all day as opposed to all the Jordans that I normally wear. And I say that because it is employing that Zoom technology that is in the insole of the shoe. Overall, I really enjoy this shoe. I really like the aesthetic of it, but there are some improvements that they could have made. For example, if they really wanted to nail that Doc Martin boot, they could have employed the use of the metal eyelets and ran that all the way across. Concerning the shoelaces, right here they employ the flat black lace and that brownish gray lace. I wish they would have employed that like cylindrical boot lace on this shoe. It would have pulled this shoe really together. On that point, I'll let them get away with it, but this next point, no, you're not getting away with this one. So yes, we had that flat black lace. Yes, we have that brownish gray lace. But why didn't you give us a yellow lace to match with this yellow threading? Oh, that would have been so dope. And yes, I could go to the store and just pick up 99-cent yellow shoelace, but that's not the point. You should have just included it in the box. My last point of improvement, the insole. Thank you for giving us a Zoom unit on the heel of this, but why didn't you just make it a full-length Zoom bed? That would have made the shoe so much more comfortable. The shoe is comfortable, but it could have been so much better. So in summation, this shoe, it costs $110. Is it worth it? I definitely think it's worth the $110 price point, especially with the quality of materials that are used. It does play into that deconstructed look that is super popular nowadays. This shoe is an awesome shoe, and it's different from all the other Nike SB Dunks that we see today. I really do think that Nike executed this inspired Doc Martin look, stolen Doc Martin look, almost perfectly. The shoe looks so good. Alright guys, that is pretty much it for my review of the Zoom Nike SB Dunk High Pro Deconstructed. God, that is such a long name. What do you think about this pickup? Good pickup? Bad pickup? Let me know down in the comments below. Go ahead and check out my Instagram, ChrisGotTheLunya with the _ at the end. Go and subscribe to my channel on the bottom right. I would greatly appreciate it. And hit me up with a thumbs up if you appreciated this video. Alright guys, I am Chris Got The Lunya, and we'll check you next time. See you now.